Mr. President, let me first of all say this is an extremely important amendment. And I'm shocked, literally shocked, that you would suggest it's not germane via Casablanca. It's not only germane, but when I get done presenting it to you, I know you'll judge that it is germane, and we'll realize the fact that it impacts and would impact, if we went forward with it, a positive impact on the economy of the entire state of New York. It would create a real viability to our property tax cap, which when we put it in place, we all supported unfunded mandate relief and the elimination of unfunded mandates, because there's a chance right now, as effective as that property tax cap has been, saving $359 million in my district and $27 billion across the state, potentially, if we don't stop these unfunded mandates, it's going to give them the choice of local elected officials to either break that property tax cap and raise taxes or slice the services that they provide to their constituents. Mr. President and my colleagues, we live in a state that simply taxes too much, spends too much, borrows too much, and clearly mandates too much. In past years, in a real life, as the Assembly Minority Leader, I was proud to be the sponsor of a driving force with my colleagues for passage of the property tax cap, which has saved taxpayers billions of dollars by putting a lid on out-of-control property tax increases. And as I and my conference originally presented and fought for that tax cap, we did so with a promise from the governor and legislative leaders that mandate relief would be part of the solution, but that promise has yet to be fulfilled. Making that tax cap permanent is a positive action for taxpayers, but the tax cap is only half the solution. The other component is clearly mandate relief. We can't ask our local governments to do more with less over and over again and not provide funding from the state. You know, I think we'd all love to create a perfect world, but somebody's got to pay for it. And too often in New York State, it's our local municipalities and local property taxpayers who the state hands the bill to in the form of unfunded mandates. This amendment is clearly germane to the bill, as the Public Protection and General Government Budget Bill provides countless new mandates upon local governments and numerous authorizations for new regulations upon both businesses and those local governments. Every day, our constituents face the burden of crushing real property taxes. But without this amendment, any promise of real property tax relief, either through the real property tax cap or the STAR program, is simply unrealized. Any benefit those important programs can deliver is more than overweighed when the state government shifts cost after cost after cost after cost upon the local government through unfunded mandates. The numerous unfunded mandates in this bill will require an increase in real property tax to the entire state of New York. For such increases are the only means that local government can use to pay for these required new cost shifts, unless they slash services. And that wasn't the intent of a property tax cap. The budget bill heaps unfunded cost upon unfunded cost on all our local governments. This amendment, my amendment, would relieve those costs and help every real property taxpayer in the state by requiring the state to pay for these mandates and give localities for the first time, a means to avoid the requirement to raise real property taxes to pay for this unfair state-imposed programs, or again, slash services. More specifically, these amendments would, number one, require that the state provide funding for all mandates it would impose upon local governments. No more mandates out to villages, towns, and counties without the funding coming forthcoming. reactivate, empower, and strengthen the State Mandate Relief Council with powers and duties to address the issue of unfunded mandates. Impose limitations on state agencies seeking to promulgate regulations by expedited means unless there really is an emergency that imposes an imminent and actual threat to public health or safety. It would also provide regulatory relief to small businesses and establish a state small business liaison. And lastly, it would require the Office of the State Comptroller to conduct a study and issue a report regarding the extent and cost of legislation that imposes unfunded mandates upon local governments in New York State. Mr. President and my colleagues, this is something that the constituents, leaders of local governments, businesses in New York State have talked about and talked about and talked about. And you know what? It's not only Republicans that want to eliminate unfunded mandates. It's you on the other side of the aisle. Because I watch the news, and every time you're asked about it, you talk about it. We got to do something about those unfunded mandates. Here is an opportunity to stand up for your constituents, the taxpayers of New York State, to validate the success into the future of that property tax cap. Because, my friends, if we continue to pile mandate upon mandate on those local municipalities, it will eat into their services. You know you're being called by those local elected officials. Don't get me wrong. We have to make it permanent because it's the one thing that's actually working to give some reprieve and help to the beleaguered property taxpayers of New York State. You can do it. You have the opportunity to do it. We can fulfill that promise to have a real property tax cap that holds the line on property taxes and also allow those important services to be solvent. As caring, responsible representatives of the people, we can and we must do more. For all these reasons, Mr. President, I'm urging all my colleagues to support this amendment.